with the proven needs, it's quite likely that a large segment of our total load will be on one or the other of these rate schedules and start on October 1st.
Do we anticipate more than two on the existing one?
We'll have at least two. There's a couple more that are expressing interest in it. It's open to a broader audience, so there's more possibilities of people taking it, but it is really structured for people that can move their load around. One of the customers, for example, that's currently on it, shreds cars, shreds metal, and they shred metal when it's not hot. Okay, they don't shred metal 24 hours a day. They just shred metal periodically, and then it's more of a batch type process. And so they have the ability to move their load around to whenever the rates are cheapest. The most largest of customers, the Verdal Maristills or the CMEXs, they're more into a continuous type process where once they get a furnace going at the steel mill, they keep it going. So they don't have the ability to move things around on an hourly basis throughout a day like a batch process does. But they can look at possibilities of moving things around seasonally. And that's what this is targeted for, the new rate schedule is targeted for.
I mean, it looks like our use rate is 3 or 4% of the people that could use it. We've talked about this 3 or 4 times, I think, since I've been around. It's pretty apparent that up to this point that it hadn't been very effective in terms of attracting customers to it.
Yeah.
And I imagine that there's not enough savings, or it's too much trouble to affect the savings. Is TDA thinking about that? Is that in your mindset?
Well, I would agree the TD HUD program has not been what I would call successful either. We've had 2 of our customers choose it in the past, and it's been available to them a lot. It's complicated, and unless electricity is your main goal of life, it's hard to think you're going to operate your whole business around the clock and when it's cheaper and when it's not. On the other hand, this other offering that they're coming out with, the seasonal demand energy, is likely to be chosen by all of our largest customers, and I think it'll be very successful in people taking it. Ultimately, I think you'll probably see 15 to 20% of our total load will be on this seasonal demand energy rate. So I think they got a winner in this one. The other one, and that's the reason they're all pilots, is to find out what sells and what doesn't. Complicated offering had few takers. Yes, ma'am.
And this is something that has to do with this, but not really for these customers. I was out of town and someone was talking about they wash clothes at night and they do certain things at night, and they were residential, to keep not necessarily their costs down, but to keep from raising costs. Would that be beneficial for our residential to educate them on different times that would actually help keep costs down for us?
Yeah, clearly TVA sends out the message that in order to keep everybody's costs down, if you would alter your lifestyle to use it not on the peak, it would keep their costs down, which would then translate into everybody else's costs being lowered as well. And there are other jurisdictions throughout the country where they have already implemented time of use rates for the residential customers. I'm not saying that's headed its way here, but if it does, all of us as individuals will be concerned about what's the appropriate time to do the dishes, to run the washing machine, to do whatever, to the extent we're wanting to follow the least cost alternative.
Has that ever been mentioned before?
Yeah, it is a metering issue to some extent. It's happened in areas. There are other areas farther ahead than us in those kind of initiatives. But I think it's fair to say the world is changing, and eventually all of our behaviors will be impacted by it.
Mike, it seems like there's also some other programs in place. For example, power can be cut off if you're on a certain program. Do these supplement that type of rate program, or are those going away and this is what the new programs are?
No, actually, most of the largest customers, or many of the largest customers, are also interruptible customers in that TVA can curtail their usage during times of extreme demand, times of emergency. And those customers will still be participating in that program. So this is an additional offering. And honestly, the larger you get, the more bells and whistles these customers have. They might have an economic incentive to add employees. They might have the ability to curtail their usage. There's lots of different wrinkles that TVA offers, particularly to the larger customers, to move their load around. It's all about matching TVA generation to customers' load.
Which brings me to my next question. You mentioned very little effect on us, but there has to be accounting issues for us for these various rate programs.
Well, there was, and it wasn't so much accounting as much as it was a programming issue and a billing issue, okay? And, but again, like I started out by saying, this is the 4th time I've been up here in 2 years. 2 years ago, we struggled. And we did have to put in the systems and the programming and everything we needed to be able to build a product that varies by the hour, by the day, by the week, by the month. But that's behind us. And so now, as they tinker with this stuff, and they just do various variations of it, it's not an issue anymore, because we've already got the resources now to handle whatever, pretty much whatever they throw at us now, this juncture.
With the heat being the way it's been this summer, have they come close to not being able to handle it? Have they stopped some of their interruptible customers, or how's this summer going?
They have 2 different classes of interruptible customers. They have a class of interruptible customers that they interrupt if they're like in an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have another class of interruptible customers that they're paying those customers a monthly credit in order for those customers to be interrupted for economic reasons. And the customers that are interrupted for economic reasons have been asked to curtail usage throughout the summer on various occasions. But they haven't had any emergency, we're reaching our maximum output type curtailments at all.
Okay.
So.
Other questions? We need a motion and a second for resolution 1230 on our first reading today.
Second.
Any public comments on this motion, resolution?
No.
Okay. Mr. Coley?
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Cannell.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Resolution 1230 passed on first reading.